So, does anyone else wonder why we're out here in Highgate instead of Sodor?
Ask Shepard. He chose the spot.
Well, since my story this year doesn't happen on Sodor, I felt it was best for a change of scene.
Interesting choice, Wolfgang. Think we'll try other locations in future?
Maybe. Depends if it's not too far for some of us to travel.
Well, I'd prefer it be somewhere close to where I live, or at least near a river, because it takes forever to get anywhere with short otter legs.
Maybe we should have a meeting next year to plan our next meeting location.
Yes, all in good time. Right now, I want to hear some stories. Where's the sixth member? Isn't Gale joining us?
I heard he wasn't coming. Too busy in the spirit world being a wind elemental.
That's correct. Gale won't be joining us tonight, but he suggested a replacement who wanted to join our little club of storytellers. And here he is now.
Sorry I'm late, everyone. Gale told me you could use a wind spirit at your club. And boy, do I got stories to tell.
Goodness, it's like every year we're getting someone new.
Well, let's hope this is the last new member we get, for Graves' sake, if anything.
Hey.
Well, we certainly can't start if you two turn this into the late-night show starring Sparks and Graves, now can we? Now, does anyone want to go first?
I say you do it, since you picked this location.
Okay, Graves, if you're gonna make this about me, then I will go first. Now, like our meeting spot, my story happens far away on a railroad right in the middle of the great nation. It's pretty famous, actually. They even have a play written about a grand event that took place there years ago. My story continues from where the play left off, and how one of the villains of that play had their own brush with the supernatural. Submitted for your approval, I call this story It had been months after his accident with Greaseball during the race, which ended up with both competitors badly wrecked. After being found out by Control, CB, the red caboose, had been placed on a flat car on the out-of-use siding near the workshop. While he would be repaired, his ultimate fate was shaky at best. But still, the devious piece of rolling stock didn't feel this was a fate he deserved. He'd done his part to let that stuck-up modern electric engine win, and he'd been ditched. Electra had uncoupled and left him behind, only for Greaseball to collide into him. It was a miracle he'd not been outright killed, something the red caboose had felt he was immune to. Every train wreck he'd caused, Old 97, Cannonball, 4343, Old 5050, he'd always escaped damage, since those stupid engines always got the worst of it. They were in the front, while he was stuck in the back where it was safe. And not only had he lost, but that twerp Rusty had won the race with that dumb hopper. Control had demanded he apologize after the race, and while he had, he'd not meant it whatsoever.
That little runt. That silly Dustin. I was finally getting some recognition with the only two real engines on this railroad, and they ruined it for me. And Pearl, I can't believe she outed me right there in front of everyone. Why do I bother? You treat coaches with respect and kindness, and they stab you in the back in return.
CB looked around the yard, hoping to hear someone take up his viewpoint, only to see, once more, that no one was around, except for some old flat cars with rotten wooden planks for company. Even Greaseball hadn't spoken to him when he'd been parked there with him a few weeks ago. They'd been laid up in the siding together, growing restless and miserable as hot summer days turned into a rain-soaked autumn. Thunder rumbled overhead as another storm threatened to break. It would soon be night, and the rumble and roar of engines passing in the distance would soon fade away. CB checked his radio again. Switches clicked, dials twisted, but no sound came through the receiver. His namesake radio hadn't worked since the accident, and without gossip to listen to, or a way to project his own frustrations, the red caboose was steadily growing more agitated. And this was all Rusty's fault.
If I ever get on the line again, that twerp had better watch his back.
Eventually, CB drifted off to sleep, his fury sapping him of energy.
Coming up the hill.
CB's eyes flashed open as the radio chatter suddenly belched through his speakers. The sun had set long ago. Now the yard was bathed in blackness, only illuminated by the small outside lights of nearby factories and flashes of lightning overhead. The caboose quickly focused on the source of the noise. It seemed like his radio had begun to work after all.
Hey, who is this?
CB demanded, flipping the switches, trying to clean up the signal. No response came, not even static. Twisting the dials around did not help. There was no whirring, popping, or anything to indicate changing channels. CB huffed angrily. He dreamed it all up. He shut his eyes again, and before he could feel sleep reclaim him...
Brakes, please. Brakes.
CB woke up with a start. That hadn't been a dream. That was actual radio chatter. Maybe his speakers were bugged and his microphone disconnected. At least he could hear what was going on, and it sounded like a runaway was happening.
This'll be fun.
CB said, shaking the sleep from his mind. He didn't want to miss this.
Put the brakes on. More power.
Sorry. 10-1, 10-9.
Another voice joined in, but this one was really badly distorted. CB could barely make out the call signs. He twisted his dials around, but the signal remained unchanged, the two radio callers' clarity remaining constant.
Stop playing around. Put your brakes on. Put on the brakes. Stop this train.
10-1, please repeat.
Stop the train.
10-1, don't yell at me.
CB grinned deviously. It sounded like this caboose was giving this train a real fright. Keeping his hand off the brakes, letting them hurtle down the line, it would be interesting to hear the end results if the lousy locomotive couldn't stop himself.
Control, do you copy?
This is Control. Please identify.
Heavy Freight 97, run away! Thundering down the pass, out of control!
CB blinked. 97? That number sounded familiar. 97, contact caboose for braking. Entering yard limits.
Control, caboose will respond! Clear the lot!
Silence followed for a couple moments. At times, Control's voice broke in, trying to call back. 37, respond. CB's mind still stuck on the number, as Control kept calling out for the locomotive to respond. 37, respond. Then the voice of the caboose came back. Only this time, it was crystal clear. No static or distortion at all in his battered earpieces.
1042, Control! Old 97's wrecked! It's a mess! I tried to stop him, but he was too heavy or his own brakes failed. I don't know what went wrong. 1034 to shops! Hurry, please!
CB stared in shock. The caboose's voice was his own. It was filled with concern, but also this clearly detectable air of glee hidden under it. Only he was capable of hearing it. Most listeners would be so concerned with the news they would never notice. His nerves shaken, he quickly snapped the radio off.
That was a dream. I imagined it. Yeah, one of those weird sleepwalking dreams you have while your eyes are wide open. Yeah. That's all.
Taking a breath and slowly letting it out, the broken caboose shuddered, his broken windows losing a few pieces of glass that finally shook loose, his wooden boards groaning. He closed his eyes and tried to drag sleep back to his mind. CB opened a sleepy eye.
I thought I turned it off.
CB said, and he flicked the switch again. This did nothing as the static sound buzzed in his head. It came in hisses and pops.
What's wrong with this stupid thing?
CB felt a cold chill crawl along his torn tar paper roof. This voice was just as clear as his own. It sounded like the engine who had wrecked. That heavy freight.
97?
No response came, but the static in his earpieces continued to fizzle and pop. CB looked around through the yard. The storm overhead rumbled louder. Some drops of rain began to fall, and the wind began to pick up. In a flash of lightning, CB saw something on the rails in front of him. It was there in one flash of lightning, but then gone as the next flash illuminated the yard. He squinted, trying to clear his vision.
Lord, that wreck must have rattled me more than I thought.
CB looked straight, and he saw the object again. As the thunder rumbled, it moved closer towards him, some hazy gray object on his track. As lightning suddenly flashed, the object leaped closer, covering distances it shouldn't have been able to, bringing its form into clarity even in the gloom. It was a big, dark gray locomotive. But as CB looked closer, he realized he could see the rails through the engine's cowcatcher. Smoke lazily rose from its funnel that looked like a dented garbage can. Sickly white light came from the headlamp on top of the boiler, its lens shattered and hanging at a slight angle so as to show the chipped numbers on it. 97. CB's mouth went dry as he saw the engine's face. It was covered in soot. Wet trails ran down the broken cheeks from the eyes, which were simply deep black pits as if it had been crying. Its eyebrows furrowed in a sad frown, and where a mouth should have been was featureless, bare metal. CB really wished he was on the ground so he could let his brakes off and allow himself to coast away as this ghostly engine glided forwards. Soon its busted knuckle coupler made contact with the flat car he was on, making it shudder. The engine stood before him, staring at him with those empty black pits. CB shuddered, loose boards on his frames clunking together and his suspension springs creaking. When the engine spoke, it was through his headset. The ghostly engine roughly shunted into the flat car, and CB felt the unmistakable motion of rolling backwards, very rapidly. The squealing of the brakes on the rusty rails as the brakes tried to keep the flat car stationary. Pitch black smoke and fire leapt from the ghostly locomotive's funnel. His broken headlamp turned from sickly white to blood red, and bright white pupils appeared where once a deep, dark pit had been.
Wait! 97! We can talk!
CB felt his flat car smash back into the buffer stop hard, making all the remaining bits of broken glass in his windows fall out. The ghostly locomotive's face was frozen in fury.
1077. Criminal! Murderer!
CB felt the flat car under him shuddering, groaning, beginning to bend. Sooner or later, something was going to give. A crack from behind made it clear it wouldn't be long now, as a weld on the buffers broke.
Wait! Please! I'm sorry, okay? I shouldn't have done what I did! Please!
Killer! Killer! Killer!
flat car shifted under CB, beginning to tilt to the side. The wrecked caboose shifted his weight a little from one spring to the other, but this didn't help matters as he felt gravity tugging on his top-heavy form to pull him over. His eyes darted to see a line of old rusty wheels sitting on the ground. They were sat up on their sides, their axle tips sticking up like spikes. A tumble onto them, and that would be it.
Help me! Someone help me! I'm sorry, please!
CB cried, all traces of his devious, sneaky personality shattering. 97 kept pushing, fire now leaping out of his funnel. His eyes glowed as bright as his lamp as his face disappeared into a black, shapeless mass. CB felt the wooden floor of the flat car cracking and splintering under him, his body shifting and sinking to the left so noticeable to make him tense up. He swayed to the side and then slowly moved back a little.
I'm sorry! I won't do it again! Please don't kill me! I'm sorry!
But it was no good as 97 gave another mighty shove. CB felt the buffer stop break loose. The floor gave way. With no support, CB's wooden body began to free fall down towards the ground, towards the wheels. CB screamed in complete and utter terror, the voice of 97 shrieking in his head.
Die! Die! Die!
CB felt the wheels crunch right through his broken wooden walls, his metal frame jackknifed in the middle, and his radio disintegrated. He screamed louder than he'd ever thought he could manage, so loud he felt his voice begin to squeak.
CB!
CB woke with a start as a voice broke through his screaming, and he felt a sudden backwards motion that shouldn't be possible. His eyes opened, and immediately the gray light of dawn rushed in. It was morning now. Thunder rumbled overhead, and a gentle rain fell upon him. His bleary eyes saw the form of an engine, and immediately he shut them tight.
Please don't kill me! I'm sorry! I won't do it again!
CB, it's me, Rusty.
The voice drew CB to open his eyes again, slowly and cautiously. In front of him was the little engine, his once filthy paint clean and bright, not a speck of rust on him now. He looked up at the trembling caboose with a look of concern, but it was a mask of concern that he felt wouldn't last long.
Rusty.
He croaked, his voice strained from the screaming.
Yes, I was just coming to move you to the workshop and you began to scream. What's going on?
CB looked around. He was still on the flat car, a broken mess of a caboose, but a living caboose. He coughed a bit as the pain of straining his vocal cords hit his waking mind. Rusty sniffed.
Well, you don't need to tell me about it. The sooner I'm away from you, the better.
Puffing hard, the small engine pulled the flat car out of the siding. Its wheels rolled on the rusty tracks, squeaking and creaking. As they rolled along, CB thought he saw something on the other track where the flat cars were. Flashes of engines' tenders, their numbers coated in rust and soot, dented and broken. But each time he tried to focus on them, the sight vanished. 97, 98, 99, 340, 582. He closed his eyes, gulping.
They're waiting for me.
What?
Nothing.
Soon, CB was rolled into the warm workshop, free from the rain that trickled down his sides and through the holes in his roof and onto his destroyed radio. Rusty was uncoupled, and as he began to puff away, CB called out.
Rusty?
What?
I'm sorry. Really, truly sorry. It was wrong to say you were no engine. I know you'll take good care of Pearl. You deserve her. More than Greaseball deserves her or Dinah. And more than me. Look at me. I'm just a broken caboose, and you're a strong steamer.
Rusty looked up at CB curiously. He'd not spoken to the rotten rolling stock since the race, and when he cast glances at him in the siding, all he got was dirty looks. What had brought this change about? He was going to ask when Control's voice boomed out on a loudspeaker at the station.
The local will be departing in 5 minutes. 5 minutes to departure.
Rusty looked back at the sad old caboose and sighed heavily.
I'll see you around, CB. Hope you're repaired soon.
The caboose said nothing as Rusty puffed away. He just stared at his couplings as the thunder rumbled outside, and the rain pattered down on the old tin roof overhead.
And we're certainly off to an interesting start.
Yeah, in the States of all places, too.
The UK isn't the only place for ghosts and interesting railroad stories. Sadly, nothing like Sodor. Though there was a sweet Atlantic steam engine I met while over there. Said she had her own story in a book.
It was okay, at best. Nothing I'm used to. And since we have a new member joining us, maybe he should go next.
Oh, of course. Time to roll my hat into the ring.
Lay it on us, Zeph.
Okay, then. Sleep. It's what we do after a hard day of work. Everyone deserves a good night's sleep, for the mind and body can only go so long before tiring out. However, some take advantage of sleep more than they should. Submitted for your approval. This story will leave you. Dennis is a diesel shunter who works on the Fat Controller's railway. Though he is able to do any work assigned to him, he doesn't, and always comes up with excuses on why he shouldn't do the work. All he is capable of doing is sleeping peacefully while the others did all the work. His work. He never once cared about how the others felt, and one day, the Fat Controller finally got tired of his antics.
I have given you many chances to change your ways. And each and every time, what do? Nothing. Absolutely nothing.
To be fair, it's the only thing I'm good at.
There is no place for lazy engines on my railway. I will send you to a steelworks on the mainland, and maybe, just maybe, the deplorable conditions there will knock some sense into you.
Whatever.
Once he had arrived, Dennis was put to work. But as the old saying goes, old habits die hard. One way or another, he got the other diesels to do his work for him, while he blissfully slept in a siding without a care in the world. One afternoon, the foreman told him to take a train of steel beams later that night to a nearby goods yard where another diesel would take it onward.
Do I have to?
It's only one job, and a simple one at that. Are you that unreliable to do a single job?
Fine.
You know, I'll be quite honest with you. You're everything your controller said you were. A lying, lazy piece of shit.
Whatever.
When night came, the gray diesel was nowhere to be seen. Dennis, being himself, avoided taking the train by hiding in an old shed deep within the confines of the steelworks. And before long, he started to drift off to sleep.
Hey.
Dennis was jolted awake. He hadn't noticed another diesel was parked in the shed with him. The diesel shunter looked just like Diesel in appearance. Only his paint was faded and his face was on the back of the cab, which was obscured.
What do you want?
Don't you have a train to pull?
I do.
So, why aren't you pulling it?
Why does anyone do anything? I'd rather sleep. That's all I need.
Pathetic.
What?
You heard me. You are pathetic. I would have dreamed of doing work. Any work. To keep my wheels turning. To keep my engine running. To keep my spirit alive. You, on the other hand, you think work is beneath yourself. So instead of working, you let someone else take all your responsibilities while you just sleep and sleep all day long.
How dare you! I'll have you know you know what? It's too much effort to explain anyway. Now, if you'll excuse me, I'm getting some sleep.
And without a care in the world, he closed his eyes. But he didn't go to sleep just yet. Curiosity then consumed him. Who was that engine? It wasn't one of the regular shunters. He opened one eye to check, but then opened both. The diesel was gone.
Pathetic!
Dennis opened his eyes. The diesel was right in front of him, staring angrily at him. His face was ghastly. His eyes were empty sockets. A vicious black liquid started to come out of them, and his breathing became raspy.
You've got some nerve, youngster. You throw away every job you're given. You just choose the easy way out. I have seen those who follow your path, and they sleep forever. I have worked every job I have been given. Through the rain or shine, I have earned the right to sleep. You are not worthy to sleep.
Go away!
Gah! Dennis, what was that?
Driver, I need to deliver that goods train.
That has to be the smartest thing you've said all night. Well, time to get moving?
Dennis bolted out of the shed. He knew what had to be done. He quickly found his train and delivered it to the goods yard late. He never once looked back. The next day, the foreman was perplexed to see Dennis begging him for work. Any work.
Give me anything. I don't care. I want to work.
The foreman did allow it, and Dennis was put through his paces. He didn't complain, nor did he ever stop to rest. The only time he did was to refuel. Due to his increased work ethic, the foreman of the steelworks offered Dennis back to the Fat Controller, saying that he had changed for the better. Dennis arrived back on Sodor, and since then, he busied himself with any job that was given to him, and more. The other engines who seldom cared about him before would recognize his newfound determination and would praise him for it. Though as time passed, some of them would get concerned that Dennis was overwhelming himself with too much work. But he would always tell them,
I've been lazy for so long, I've forgotten what real work is. I deserve this. I don't need to rest.
He would always be tired when night came, and when he closed his eyes, he would always see the ghastly diesel repeating the same message over and over.
You are not worthy to sleep.
Because of that reoccurring nightmare, Dennis experienced many sleepless nights. It would soon affect how well he worked. One day, when he was getting ready for work, his driver was concerned.
Dennis, are you sure you're fit to work?
Okay.
Dennis's answer made no sense, but it was the barest he could give. He then trudged to work, arranging coaches and trucks. Throughout the day, he worked himself harder than he ever had, but due to the lack of sleep, he began to struggle. The other engines soon noticed his sluggish demeanor. At first, they thought Dennis had once again regressed back into his old ways. But that would soon change once they saw his tired and shabby face. His eyes were red, almost bloodshot, and the bags under them sagged heavily. They asked if he was all right, but he didn't reply. Even his driver had taken notice, but put it off as Dennis being, well, Dennis. But by midday, Dennis was very wary. At that point, he was desperately trying to stay awake.
That's it. You're going to take a break.
No, I'll get that for you.
His driver stopped him in a shed, and at that moment, he couldn't fight exhaustion anymore, and closed his eyes. Sleep engulfed him.
No, not you. Not you!
Did I not make myself clear the first time? You are not worthy to sleep!
I know, but I'm no longer lazy. I've proven I can be really useful. I promise I won't go back. Please, God damn it! I beg of you, let me sleep!
You are...
Dennis is now a quiet, yet useful shunter. He revels in the gratification of working and does his best in every job he is given, so as not to return to his old ways. Though, on some nights, when Dennis was about to fall asleep, he could catch a glimpse of the ghostly specter from the corner of his eye, watching him with those cold, empty eyes, always waiting for him to go to sleep.
Not bad.
I thought it was good. Not too many stories with that lazy diesel in it.
Yeah, though it sounded like another story I've heard somewhere before.
I had the idea before that story came out. So if anything, I'd say great minds think alike, and any similarity is a coincidence.
And you're certainly one to talk, Sparks. We all know how your stories are just basically copies of others.
They aren't copies. They are accurate retellings that aren't butchered for the sake of babies.
So you say.
Well, how about Sparks go next then?
Indeed. May as well get it over with sooner than later.
Okay, I'll tell my story, if that's okay with Graves.
Sure, I'll try my best not to fall asleep.
I'll pretend I didn't hear most of that. Now, there's no denying the ghostly trains or ghostly people tend to appear more often in our stories than not. But we often forget the other kinds of ghosts that exist on the road. Cars have been with us for more than a century since their development, and as such, supernatural stories around them do exist. Submitted for your approval, I call this story.
It was autumn, and work for the pack had been plentiful. With the summer season over and winter on the way, the machines were enjoying a change to their normal duties. A road in the forest near Maithwaite was being widened, as it was heavily trafficked during the day. The pack was working at night to prevent causing traffic. When the workmen went on break, Kelly decided to keep the machines entertained with a story.
Now which story would be best?
How about a spooky story? Halloween is only a week away.
I hope it's not too scary.
Rubbish. Yeah, it's just a story, scaredy bucket.
Shh.
Okay, I think I have a story. It's called The Tale of the One-Eyed Lorry.
And everyone listened as Kelly began his story. The year was 1910, and many construction companies were starting to modernize their fleets with new and improved petrol-powered vehicles. When it came to starting work earlier, petrol was preferred. Many of the older steam vehicles regarded these newcomers with immense scrutiny, but none more than Red, an old steam lorry.
These new machines are out to bury us alive,
He'd say.
Stay on your guard and make sure they know who's really going away.
Now it should go without saying that Red was so accurately named. His temper was just as fiery as the color. Even as he grew older and his paint faded, rust started to form, no one dared to call him Rusty Red, as they feared what would happen. The old lorry prided himself on his headlamps. 2 beautifully decorated lamps mounted to his front that burned oil and gave him a fiery gaze that burned through the worst weather conditions, day or night.
This is an honest light. It burns as I do. Any one of those petrol-powered plague rats touch 'em, I'll destroy 'em with my own wheels.
I'm sorry to say, that day came one foggy evening. A new petrol loader had been purchased and possessed no headlights of his own. His operator, knowing they would be working at night, looked around for a lamp to borrow, and he found one. Eventually, Red stirred from his nap as one of the new dump trucks rumbled off to work.
Foul beast for their fumes. This world's going to heck, I tell you.
Red paused as he realized something was wrong with his vision. He could see out of his right side, but to his left was all black. He tried to open that eye, but nothing happened. It was then he realized why he couldn't.
My headlamp! Someone stole it!
The angry shouting woke a steamroller who had just started to settle down for a rest.
That new loader's borrowed it.
That thief stole my headlight! Where is he?
He's gone to work. He'll be back later and...
But before the steamroller could finish, Red raced out of the yard, Soot and sparks flew out of his funnel as he tore down the road. The loader was working at filling an old ditch on the side of the road. It was getting late and the mist was rolling in.
Told him to head out,
said his operator. But before the loader could turn to leave, he saw something in the distance. A bright, glowing white light burned through the fog, coming right at him at a high speed. Then, out of the fog came Red, the one-eyed truck. A furious rage twisted his face into something unrecognizable.
Thief! I'll teach you to steal from me!
The loader turned and ran away. The one-eyed truck chased him into the deepest, darkest part of the forest.
Then what happened?
Kelly continued.
Luckily, the loader got away. But Red never came back. Police and volunteers searched the forest, but no trace of the furious steam loader could be found. Legend says his spirit still roams these woods, his single eye catching a beam of light that moves through these trees where no vehicle can go, and his whistle piercing the cold forest air as he searches for his stolen headlamp. Maybe he wants yours.
Silence fell before Oliver broke it.
That was a great story, Kelly.
I hope the one-eyed lorry doesn't take my headlamp.
Me too.
Ugh, rubbish.
Well, break's over. Back to work.
With a rev and a roar, everyone went back to work. The job was moving along smoothly, though Jack and Alfie were both on edge. Kelly's story was still on their minds. Max and Monty noticed and were delighted. The two boastful dump trucks were in the mood for mischief. They raced out of the fog, revving their engines and blaring their horns.
Oh, look out! It's the one-eyed lorry!
Oh no!
Screamed Alfie, and he and Jack jumped back, right into the hole they'd been digging. They weren't hurt, but their operators were cross, and Max and Monty couldn't help but laugh.
Ooh, scary, scary!
Stop it, you two! Pick on someone your own size.
Max and Monty just laughed. Later, the twins had calmed down. The foreman spoke to them.
The nearby soil dump is full, so you two will need to go to the second one further in the forest. But be careful.
Yes, sir!
The two said, and they drove off. As they drove, the two dump trucks noticed how quiet it was getting. The sound of the other machines faded into the distance. The only sounds they could hear was the sound of their own engines. As they crossed an old bridge, the moon dipped behind a cloud, plunging the forest into near pitch black.
Hey, Max, it seems a bit dark out here, huh?
Yeah, a bit.
The further they went, the less brave they felt. The forest seemed to swallow the light on their headlights. Strange and scary shapes slipped in and out of the shadows.
Did you just hear that? Yeah, it's just probably one of Fat Hat's no way, nowhere railway engines going around the line.
Remember, there's a whole ton of them, alright?
Oh, hey, Monty, look! There's the dump! Now, come on, let's just hurry up, dump our loads, and let's just get back in one piece, eh?
Yeah, good idea.
As they began to dump their loads, the two thought they could hear something over the sound of their engines.
What was that? I don't know, Monty. It sounds like...
But before Max could finish, a single glowing light appeared through the trees.
I want my headlight back! It's the one-eyed lorry!
Run for it!
They raced away as fast as their wheels could carry them. Behind them, they could hear the chuffing of a steam engine.
It's after us!
Not my headlamp, not mine!
They drove faster and faster. The chuffing grew louder and louder.
Give me my headlamp! It's mine!
No!
Soon the bridge appeared through the mist. Max and Monty raced across. Behind them, the light of the one-eyed lorry suddenly cut out and the chuffing and whistle faded away.
Monty, is he still back there? I don't care, Max. I don't care, but I ain't stopping for this.
And they didn't. The two trucks didn't stop until they raced into the work site.
It's him! He's back there!
Who's back there?
It's the one-eyed lorry! It's real!
It's not real.
Yeah, stop trying to scare us.
You saw it! He wanted to take our headlights. He almost caught us. We're not going back there. Not ever again. No way.
Everyone stared. It was unlike Max or Monty to want to not work. This had to be serious. With the two dump trucks and their crew on strike, the foreman closed the site for the evening. Everyone was packed up and taken home.
Spoil sport.
Laugh at us for believing in a story, then you go and ruin the job by believing in yourselves.
Max and Monty said nothing as they raced away ahead of Nelson, who was taking Jack and Alfie. Kelly watched them go. He didn't want to say, but he was feeling dreadfully nervous. He knew this wasn't Max and Monty's usual stunts. This was real. The next morning, he caught Jenny heading out of the office towards Max and Monty's garage.
Excuse me, Miss Jenny? But I think I can explain what happened.
I'm listening.
As she listened, the more she frowned.
And so, Miss Jenny, I think...
I understand, Kelly. It's just... that's the last memory of my father.
I know, Miss Jenny. But it's clear that Red is still out there. He won't rest till he gets his headlamp. If he still is there, there is only way I can think to get rid of him before he actually hurts someone. I suspect last night the two disturbed his rest. This is the only way to put an end to him.
Miss Jenny nodded slowly, and she continued to the garage to brief the machines. After that, she returned to her office. She wasn't there long before she left it, carrying a bundle under her arm. The car came to a stop near the second soil dump in the forest. Miss Jenny stepped out, bundle in arm. She walked to the pile of soil and stood atop it. She listened to the sounds of the forest. All she could hear was rustling of the wind and the crinkling of the trees. She listened for a sound that shouldn't be there before she removed the blanket from the item she was carrying.
Red, my father only ever intended to borrow your lamp. He would have returned it polished and full of oil, but you never came back. Now I want you to take your lamp back and leave this forest. I've kept it safe and well polished all these years.
She waited for a moment before leaving the dirt pile back for her Land Rover. As she climbed inside, she turned to look at the headlamp one last time.
If you are still here, I hope this brings peace to your spirit.
And she left. The roadwork through the forest was completed a week later, during which there were no sightings of the one-eyed lorry. Kelly is sure his spirit is now fully laid to rest. But stories of lights in the forest continue to be told to this day. I wonder who is right. Don't you?
Why am I not surprised? Another Sparks original.
Hey, I just told the story as it actually happened.
Well, I thought it was spooky. Not often you hear stories about supernatural road vehicles on Sodor.
That's nothing. You should hear my story about a ghostly bus endlessly touring the Sudrian countryside.
Well, since you've already told your story, I guess we won't be hearing about it. Maybe next year.
Maybe not. It's an old story I told long ago, before this group formed.
Who'd you even tell this story to?
That's not important. Anyways, Sparks, I enjoyed that story. Certainly more creepy than the toddler trash retelling we got.
Well, at least some spirits appreciate my stories.
So, who's next?
Well, since Graves always has something to say about Sparks in his stories, he should go next to show us how it's done.
I've been doing that for years since this group formed, and still none of you learned how to tell a good scary story. But if I must, I shall.
Good, let's hear it.
Very well then. We all know Sodor as a special island. Some say it's magical. But what if I told you that there was another island? A cursed island. One that makes its own connections to other shores through means not understood by mortal men. Would you visit such a place? Submitted for your approval. I call this story The governor of the island of Sodor deemed it necessary, with large amounts of public support, for a search and rescue center to be constructed to better protect against future accidents and disasters. The new facility, which provides services to the entire island when the need arose, would be located snugly in the protected cove north of Sudbury. And from this location, the center could provide assistance for land or sea-based emergencies. However, the construction of the facility itself took a long time. Thomas was rostered to take trainloads of stone from the quarry on his branch line to the site. Here the stone would be used to make the building strong and sturdy, able to endure bad weather. While the work was important, Thomas was a bit put out by it all. He knew Daisy would be handling the passengers exclusively, leaving Annie and Clara in the sheds alone.
Don't worry, old boy. This is very important, and your branch line will have made it happen.
I guess. But I hope I won't be doing this for too long. You know Daisy's opinion on coaches, and she'll just leave them alone in the shed all day.
Thomas worked hard shunting the trucks of stone whenever they were needed, either to the worksite or in the yard all day. Before long, the sun was starting to set, and work slowed down for the evening. As Thomas coupled up to a train of empties for his return trip, he saw something in the shadows. It appeared to be a tunnel. Only the entrance was boarded up, and a bed of sleepers led to it. No rails and no points were present, though.
That's strange. What's a tunnel doing here? I thought the Fat Controller said this site was new.
He thought about it until he left for home. A couple days passed, and work was passing smoothly. Every day, Thomas would look over at the tunnel and wondered where it had come from. He wanted to know more about it, but the busy site just didn't allow him time to ask. It was evening, and Thomas was working extra hard as his driver promised him an evening passenger run if they finished early. The loads were heavy and the trucks were old. Thomas was red in the face from the strain, and he struggled to shunt the last of the trucks. As he cleared the points, there was a loud whoosh!
Cinders and ashes! What happened?
That was your safety valve. You're not going anywhere now.
Oh, bother! That means I can't do that passenger run. Annie and Clarabelle will be so disappointed.
Thomas's fireman dropped the fire, and the driver tucked him in for the night. They then caught a ride home from the yard manager. Thomas was all alone. The yard was quiet, and from the nearby Sudbury Bay, the waves lapped on the shore relaxed Thomas. He yawned and started to close his eyes. He stared at the mysterious tunnel, which was slowly being swallowed by the light mist that was starting to appear. And soon, Thomas was fast asleep. The feeling of a coupling connecting stirred Thomas from his sleep. It had to be morning now, as he could tell the sun was probably just rising by the feeling of the light shining on his face.
Oh, great. You woke him up. Did not. My driver hooked him up gentle-like.
Thomas wondered who these voices belonged to. They didn't sound like anyone he met. He opened his sleepy eyes and blinked wildly as a harsh yellow light blinded him. He closed his eyes tightly.
I meant your lamp, moron. Now you've gone and blinded him. Oops, sorry.
Who's there? Who are you?
Oh well, now he's awake. Oh, sorry there, mister. That was my clumsy twin's fault. I'm Bash. Sorry, forgotten I had that on. I'm Dash.
Thomas waited a moment before he opened his eyes again. The bright yellow light was gone, and now he could start to see who these engines were. They were two small engines with wooden cabs and bare frames. Their funnels took the shape of large balloons on top of their smoke boxes, and the lamp, which has blinded Thomas out of his sleep, was just as massive. Their faces were nearly identical, with freckles and their eyes burned with an impish cheek. It was like looking at another Bill and Ben.
What are you two? I've never seen engines like you before. Are you new?
Oh, we've been here a while. But never mind about us. What are you doing out here?
Thomas shivered. He wasn't sure what to say. These engines, he wasn't sure if they were actually as caring as they sound. The only other tank engine twins he'd met were Bill and Ben, and they were cheeky little engines. He had a feeling these twins might be the same.
Oh, I burst my safety valve working. Are you taking me to the works?
Oh, didn't they say? There's been an accident on the main line. The works is much too busy now. But we've come to help you. We have our own works that can get you fixed in a jiffy.
Dash began to puff backwards. Smoke from his stack whooshed into the night air, a lot of sparks flying up into a metal mesh lid on top of their funnels.
Oh, you're heavier than you look. I'll help push, Dash. We'll move faster then.
Before Thomas could say anything, Bash blew his whistle and began to head to the back of Thomas. Thomas saw something mounted at the rear of Bash. It was strange looking and had a big spool of cable mounted to it. Thomas had never seen engines that looked like this, with contraptions on their bunkers and a large balloon-shaped funnels. As soon as Bash coupled up, Thomas began to move faster. He moved towards the end of the yard, and the tunnel came into view. Then they turned and headed right for it. Thomas blinked in surprise.
Wait, the tunnel.
Just completed it when we heard you were in trouble. We've been working on it in secret, and you're the first one to go through it. Aren't you lucky?
Thomas could only watch as they entered the tunnel. From the glow of the lights from these two strange twin engines' lamps, he could see the brick of the tunnel end, not far into the tunnel mouth. Beyond it was bare rock and wooden posts propped at odd angles. Some creaked as they passed by, and the dirt and stones constantly rained down on them. Thomas felt very uneasy, as his journey seemed to be going on for longer than he had wished.
How long is this tunnel?
We're halfway now. Nearly home.
Thomas gulped as he anxiously waited to get out of this suffocating space. It was like the walls of the tunnel were getting closer around him, and the chuffing of the twins was becoming deafening. He closed his eyes as he felt the hot soot ash from Dash's funnel hit the tunnel roof and get blown onto his face. He hated this and couldn't wait to get out. Soon he felt a cold breeze blow across his face, and the chuffing of the twins changed. Thomas opened his eyes to see himself surrounded by dark canyon walls that stretched over him and left only a narrow ribbon of the night sky. He felt like he was in a trench, and he wondered what it was. It wasn't long before he saw the canyon walls were actually gigantic trees. At least 100 feet tall with trunks bigger than Gordon was long. This didn't feel like Sodor anymore.
Where are we?
Our home on Misty Island. We live here.
Thomas was stunned. He was on another island? But how? The tunnel. He'd been under the ocean? But that didn't make sense. Nothing was making sense. Thomas looked around as they traveled, the twins occasionally calling out scenery, such as a massive tunnel created out of a massive log, a sharp bend overlooking a valley that descended downwards into the mist, and a spindly looking trestle that spanned a deep gorge.
And here is the Shake Bridge! Shake, shake, make me quake!
Thomas gulped as he felt the tracks sway ever so slightly from side to side. He wasn't sure if the bridge was moving, or if the tracks were the problem. This wasn't like the small trestle bridge on the line leading up to the quarry. He was glad when they were finally off it. After a while they came into a big yard. Sitting on a nearby siding was a big tender engine. He was no bigger than Edward, but he was just as strange looking as these twins were. The engine smiled.
Well, howdy there, stranger. Welcome to Misty Island. You're looking a little bit rough. What ails you?
Safety valve. Popped it while working.
Ferdinand then looked at Thomas, his brow furrowing curiously.
Oh, did you? Were you working hard or hardly working?
The two twins giggled loudly at Ferdinand's joke, and Thomas was shocked and offended.
I'll have you know, I was working extremely hard. You don't burst safety valves on a whim, you know.
Easy now, stranger, easy. No hard feelings. A hard-working engine is what we like to hear. We'll get you sorted out and fired up in no time. Bash, shunt our new friend over to the water tower. He's got coal, but gotta make sure he's got plenty of water. Dash, get yourself over to the shed and get one of them spare valves.
Yes, Ferdinand?
He began to pull Thomas back.
Of course, Ferdinand!
Thomas was surprised when he left. He hadn't noticed anyone uncouple Dash. He looked at Ferdinand as he pulled away.
And you?
Ferdinand said nothing as he looked back to Dash until the tank engine rounded the bend.
I'm gonna go make sure the youngster gets the job done. That's right.
As Thomas got a drink from the water tower, he looked around. In the pale moonlight, he saw buildings. They were built out of the logs, but they looked old, abandoned even. One building that might have been a signal box was missing half its roof. Bash slowly chopped up on his side on the other track, grinning his cheeky grin.
So, what do you think of our island?
This place... it's a little...
Run down? Yeah, we used to have a lot of work to do, but then it stopped.
But does anyone live here, besides your crew?
Oh, lots of people. Don't let the state of the buildings put you off. We just need to cut a few more logs up and they'll be as good as new.
You cut logs? Is that what that machine is on your back?
Bash laughed.
You're funny. You can't cut logs with a winch. Use that for hauling things up to the track, just like how we did back in the States.
That's right.
The strange tender engine chuffed out of the darkness and stopped in front of him, followed by Bash, who joined him on the third track.
We're the logging locos. Don't they have them on your island?
We have a lumber company, but they use tractors.
Now that's just silly. Tractors ain't good on steep hills. They just fall over. Nope. Steam donkeys and engines like us get the job done right.
Thomas blinked. What was a steam donkey? He was about to ask when he suddenly felt boots in his cab move around. Something on the boots was scraping along his cab floor and it felt painful.
Ouch! Hey! What? Ouch!
Looks like someone forgot to take off his climbing cleats.
Ugh, I told him to take them things off.
Thomas couldn't speak. The scraping in his cab was unbearable. He felt his safety valve being taken off while he wrenched roughly. Soon it was off and a new one was being put in. It felt cold and unfamiliar.
It should fit. You're bigger than us, so we got you one of Ferdinand's spares. It should work, being you're such a big, strong tank engine.
Despite their kind words, Thomas couldn't help but feel something was off about this. He was being repaired, but it was on a strange island, at night, by 3 strange-looking engines he had only just met. And they seemed very keen on helping. Almost too keen.
Well, only one way to find out if the repair was successful. Fire 'em up. That's right.
Thomas felt the scraping in his cab moving around and a fire being lit in his firebox. As the warmth spread through his boiler, he felt the pressure rising as it began to make steam. Despite his warmth, he felt a chill in his boiler that refused to leave. The scraping boots soon left his cab, much to Thomas's relief.
How do you feel, friend? Feeling better? Ready to work again?
I think so.
That's perfect.
Perfect? For what?
The 3 engines said nothing for a moment, as their grins lost all joy and began more devious. Their eyes narrowed. Dread began to well up in Thomas's boiler. The looks they were giving were empty and hungry.
We've been looking for a new boiler for old Wheezy for years. Yours will do nicely, right, Ferdinand?
That's right.
Suddenly, Thomas saw movement by the buildings. From the shadows emerged people. Or Thomas thought they were people. They were inky shapes that looked as if they were part of the darkness itself, with glowing yellow eyes. In their hands they carried axes and massive saws. As he looked, more of these figures began to emerge from behind the trees and bushes as if they were lying in wait. Ferdinand glanced at Bash, and then Dash.
Boys, hold our new friend still. Don't want to risk ruining his boiler when they cut it out.
Yes, Ferdinand.
The twins sang in unison, their eyes never leaving Thomas. They quickly began to approach him. Thomas's fear snapped, and he forced his regulator open. His reverser was already set, as so he reversed as fast as he could. He cleared the points just as the 2 strange tank engines reached where he had been sitting. They crashed into each other but remained on the tracks. Ferdinand's face snapped into one of anger.
You idiots! Get him!
Thomas didn't stop as he raced back into the forest, the shadowy shapes of the humans and engines vanishing behind the trees. As he raced back, he saw the flashing yellow eyes of the more human-like shapes emerging from the darkness by the tracks, saws and axes in hand. The tracks creaked and groaned from under him, threatening to snap at every corner. Each time he felt he'd tip over, but somehow he managed to hold himself onto the rails. Yellow lights flashed through the trees, followed by the dry chuffing of the logging locos chasing him.
You can't run forever. We're gonna get you.
Thomas bit his lip, racing faster, the pale lights of the tank engines flashing between the trees. He swerved around a bend, and the harsh light of their headlights slashing against his blue paint like claws. Every flash made Thomas gasp as he felt he was being spotted no matter where he went.
Come back, stranger! You'll love it here with us! We only just got acquainted! Don't go running off into the forest all alone now! It's dangerous at night!
Thomas swerved left, then right, and then vanished back into the tunnel, his smoke billowing down around him, creating a wall of haziness. It didn't last long. Soon it began to get lighter, and then the faint chuffing in front of him began to grow louder. The logging locos were now in the tunnel with him.
Now that's not nice. Running away down our tunnel at night. You're going to wreck. That won't be good.
It was the twins. Their voices echoed distantly, but they were steadily getting louder.
Gonna wreck, crash and smash.
Running away from your new friends? Now that ain't right!
Thomas just closed his eyes. He didn't dare open them. His axles ached. His pistons felt like they were ready to burst, but he did not dare slow down. Then, suddenly, he felt a billow of cold air, and the sooty cloud of his own smoke left his face. Opening his eyes, he found himself back on Sodor. The tunnel clouded with smoke, the pale glow coming closer. Before Thomas could think of what to do, he felt his buffers smashed into something. His wheels left the rails. He tipped onto his side, his wheels crunching through the ballast and the remains of the trucks he ran into. A wave of coal clattered onto his roof and boiler, cracking him in the smoke box. Everything went black. The last thing Thomas saw was the emerging of a headlamp from the tunnel, which was filled with hundreds of little yellow lights. Thomas awoke with a startled scream. Instantly he blinked in shock to see the sun shining brightly. Workmen were milling around him, hooking chains to his sides as Rocky, the massive crane, had his boom positioned overhead.
Whoops, sorry. Didn't mean to startle you like that. No worries, I'll have you back on the rails in no time. Looks like you're the first rescue for the rescue centre, and it's not even finished yet. How you managed to get into this mess, I'll never know.
Thomas could hardly answer. He was looking around. Everything looked the same, but the tunnel. Thomas's eyes snapped to where the mysterious tunnel was, but it was behind Rocky and he couldn't see it. But he could still feel those yellow eyes staring at him.
The tunnel! You need to close it!
Tunnel? What tunnel?
Came a well-known voice. It was the Fat Controller. Thomas stammered as he tried to explain.
Sir, the one at the end of the yards. It goes somewhere. Somewhere awful. It needs to be closed.
The Fat Controller stared at the little blue engine.
Thomas, that tunnel goes nowhere. It wasn't even completed.
Thomas blinked.
What do you mean, sir?
That tunnel was meant to connect the rescue centre to the main line, but it collapsed a couple days into its construction. The ground is so unstable, it's been deemed too dangerous to complete. Surveyors are looking to build around the coast instead. It's been closed ever since you started bringing your stone trains here.
Thomas looked over as he was lifted back onto the rails by Rocky. Now he could see the tunnel, and it was, as it always been, boarded up with no rails leading to it. And there was no evidence that there had been any rails.
I do wonder what got you into this predicament. Your crew insisted your safety valve was burst.
An inspector was called to investigate the safety valve.
No doubt. This isn't one of ours.
Nope. I highly doubt you'll get your parts from Pennsylvania.
Oh dear. It's happening again.
What's that, sir?
Oh, nothing. If this is all, then I suggest this tank engine receive an appropriate safety valve so he may get back to work, and I must be on my way.
Sir?
I don't know how this accident happened, but I intend to make sure it causes no further confusion or delay.
The Fat Controller then walked off, leaving the little blue tank engine confused. He was certain what he had seen that night had been real, but nothing was adding up. He was glad when he was placed back onto the rails and allowed to return back to his branch line. A couple of months later, the rescue center was completed along with the main line connections. The tunnel portal was bricked up and turned into a bunker for the emergency generator. However, the investigations into Thomas's accident remained unsolved. Many a railwayman will tell you what they really think happened. However, I don't think we'll ever truly know the truth.
That's right.
Well, that was a surprising story.
Man, that was creepy.
Indeed.
Sounded more like a parody of a really bad special to me.
Oh, shut up. You're just jealous that this was an actual scary story.
It was unsettling at best, and gave no explanations about what was going on.
Well, that's the scary part, not knowing the truth.
The lazy part, more like...
Oh, you're one to talk about being lazy.
Please, you two, no more fighting. You both told your stories when we liked them both. Isn't that enough?
Nope.
Never.
Like I said, Jason, they are always butting heads for story perfection. That's really just who they are.
I guess. I just wonder why they even come here if they hate each other.
Oh, don't worry, Beach. They argue, but they don't really hate each other. They just have differing ideas on what's scary.
Okay, enough of this warm-hearted friendship stuff. The night is half over, and we have 2 more stories to hear.
Right, so who's going to go next?
I could go next if that's alright with you, Jason.
Sure, Jasper. I'll tell the last one.
Alright then. Now, we all know how steam engines feel about scrapping. The beaching axe is no better example. But scrap affects all aspects of life and forms of traction, which 3 brothers are going to find out. Submitted for your approval, I call this story... A low grinding sent shockwaves through the air, knocking the morning dew off a couple cracked windscreens in the junkyard. The crusher was turned on. This meant only one thing: processing day. The day when the scrap was to be loaded into the crusher and compacted into a small metal cube that would then be sent to a smelter to be melted down. A few of the residents stirred. Most stayed still, content to sleep away their time, however much left of it there was. The majority of the scrap was old cars and lorries, whose time on the road had come to an end in one form or another. In one of the piles sat 3 particular lorries, all in various states of decay. The first and least broken one sat with his rear propped up on top of his own rotting tires. The second was festooned with rust all over, that turned his former red paint shades of brown and orange. And the third sat broken amongst a pile of parts that at one time might have belonged to him. He snarled as he awoke.
Where is that mechanic? How can I show those engines what for if he's late? Once I do, I'll show that little green goblin who's boss.
The other 2 sighed. This was a common occurrence. After his accident, Smashed had never been the same. Each day he awoke thinking it was just after his horrific accident. He'd been overloaded with stone, and the steep road had destroyed his brakes, leaving him careening out of control until he went off the road and plunged off a cliff. He had survived, but the 2 wondered how anyone could call being mentally trapped in a day that had happened several months ago a blessing. I'm sure you will. Broken sighed, having given up trying to correct him long ago.
Where is that mechanic?
Smashed asked after a moment of silence, completely forgetting what had just been said. Broken said no more. He looked over to Sunk, who was looking sad. That lorry had been careless, and backed down a boat ramp into the sea. Despite being rescued, the salt water had totaled him completely inside and out. Beyond the rusty paint, all his wires were corroded and useless. Every moving part was so rusted there was not enough oil in the world to make him move without horrific creaking. Broken felt his anger rise as he looked at his brothers and himself. Soon, he snapped.
I don't know why the boss threw me in here with you 2. I'm still in one piece, I just need a new axle.
Broken, shut up. You heard what he said. You not only broke your axle, but you completely totaled your transmission. Rebuilding it would cost more than selling all of us for scrap. And
it's not like Smashed would get much, given his state. But it's not fair. We were supposed to run this railway into the ground, dirt the rails and get a nice road made for us. How'd they manage to get away from Beeching's axe anyway?
Huh. Once that mechanic fixes me, he'll fix you lot up too. Then it'll be goodbye to those steam kettles. Just you wait.
well, clearly Beeching failed here. This island that we were sent to conquer clearly loves its railway more than the mainland did. They won, and we lost.
Why us? We don't need their worthless rails and we could go anywhere. The people on this island also love their road vehicles. See that ancient old Biddy Caroline? The old girl should have been melted down years ago along with that ancient traction engine. Why do they get to stay and we get cast aside?
It's simple,
Came a tired old sigh. The lorries looked over towards an old tractor, who appeared in a very sorry state. His paint was covered in rust and his body dented beyond recognition.
They have good owners and actually take care of them. You can go anywhere, but if you're not cared for, nothing matters. My owner did everything to keep me running on the cheap. If something broke, it never got fixed unless it prevented me from working. Even then the repairs were crude and done on the farm. Eventually he grew tired of my worn-out appearance and sold me for junk to buy another new tractor. Won't be long before it ends up here too. That's just how it goes for all those vehicles. No matter how old they are or what they ride on, as long as there are people who care, they'll last centuries. If not, well, you already know.
The 3 lorries sat in silence, until Smash broke.
Where's that mechanic?
Sunk and Broken said nothing. Another engine revved loudly to join in with the crusher. The engine of the scrap crane. It was time to get to work. Processing day moved briskly as the large crane hummed away, picking up hunks of scrap in its massive claw and placing it on the conveyor. Its claw soon clamped around the old tractor. He gave a pained grunt, but he said nothing as he was hoisted upwards, and then dropped down onto the conveyor that led to the crusher. The lorries looked away as the tractor's life came to a sudden end. They watched as the crane got closer and closer to them. It only stopped when the operator took off for his lunch break. Sunk and Broken talked. You think they'll get to us today?
It's only lunchtime, and they are moving fast.
They ain't gonna get us. We'll soon be back on the roads, taking work from those useless railway engines.
Sunk and Broken just said nothing. Soon, too soon for them, the lunch break was over and work began again. The crane swung its massive grabber over and dropped it right on top of Smashed.
Hey! Watch the paint!
He grumped obliviously. The crane lifted the remains of the wrecked lorry up and dropped it onto the conveyor. Sunk and Broken watched them go up it and enter the crusher.
I'll tell you, when that green rat sees me again, I'm gonna...
With a sickening thud, the crusher dropped down. It shook the earth, leaving a flat pancake of metal where once parts of a lorry had been. Sunk and Broken just looked down at the ground. 1 down, 2 more to go.
Maybe they'll leave us alone?
Maybe, but I really doubt it.
The machinery kept turning, more scrap was added to the conveyor, and it was crushed flat. The shadow of the grabber danced over the 2 lorries, making them wince every time it seemed to linger over them.
It's gonna be me next, I know it.
Don't talk that way. You talk like that, it will happen.
No, I'm done denying it. I mean, Broken, bruv, just look at me. I'm rustier than those engines that we once called rust buckets. Nothing in me works after my seed dunk. Everything's been flooded out and nothing works anymore. Chances are I'm gonna be gone by the end of today.
Your radiator's finally cracked. It can still be repaired.
I could have, but I'm more trouble than I'm worth. I just don't want to go out in denial like he did.
But if you go, I'll be here on my own.
Look at it this way, brother. No one could repair Smashed. No one would repair me. But maybe, just maybe, someone might have the art to repair you.
The shadow of the grabber hovered over the rusty lorry.
Lucky me.
Lucky you.
The grabber came down and dug into the rusty body of Sunk. He winced in pain before relaxing. He didn't look at his brother. He simply closed his eyes. Broken watched as he was lifted up, and then sat on the conveyor. Broken could only watch until he couldn't anymore. A shower of broken glass rained down on his roof, and something heavy landed on the ground nearby. When he looked down, he saw it was a broken headlight with corroded wires dangling out the back. Now on his own, he wasn't feeling too sure of his own fate. It could have been repaired. They could have repaired him. But no matter how many times he tried to convince himself it was true, he couldn't believe his own lies. As the sun set behind the buildings, the engines coughed and died. The junkyard settled into silence. Broken looked around him. A lot of scrap that had once been piled around him was now gone. The broken lorry knew that he'd gotten lucky. But tomorrow, this begins all over again. Unhappily, the broken lorry went to sleep. He hoped he'd sleep soundly enough to avoid being woken when the end came. Broken was awoken by the feeling of being dragged backwards. He opened his eyes to see it was now daylight, and that he was being tugged away. "Hey, what's going on?" he asked in surprise as the yard manager came up.
Some nuts came in here looking for a used lorry and thought you were a good option. Why they want a rusty like you, I don't know, nor care. All I care is they paid you scrap value.
Broken said nothing as he was pulled onto a trailer. He stared at the broken headlight from sunk. Smashed. Sunk. 2 brothers gone. And he was the last one. He said nothing as he left the scrapyard for the final time. Broken was bought by a farmer in the countryside. The farmer's son, who was a mechanic, replaced his broken parts, had him repainted and relicensed to LOR 4. The blue lorry now works on the farm, quietly taking crates of strawberries down to the market in the summer and firewood during the fall. He doesn't talk much, he just silently does his work without fuss. Even when he comes to railway crossings, he stays silent. His owners say he runs flawlessly, except on days when they drive past the junkyard. The lorry suddenly develops engine issues, coughing and spluttering and grinding. Once they're past it, things go back to normal. Mechanics are puzzled by this weird phenomena, wondering how a perfectly good lorry can develop such an issue. But we know better, don't we?
Not too scary, but certainly a sad story.
I'd say the dread of knowing death is lurking above, waiting to strike you down, was the scary part.
And not to mention watching your 2 brothers die in front of you, especially smashed.
Indeed. It's a miracle he survived, but who would want to live that way?
Indeed. Good story, Jasper. Now we're down to the last story. Jason, want to end us on a high note?
I'll certainly try. So, it's Halloween night, and the height of the harvest season. Soon the temperature will drop further, and it will soon be winter. But the change in the season not only brings cold weather, but the restless souls of spirits roaming the world endlessly. Submitted for your approval, I call this story Winter on the island of Sodor can be very busy and very cold, as many of the engines have to work hard to get their loads delivered on time, especially given how hard working in snow is and how easy it is to get stuck in it. One night, Percy was finishing his mail run, and he stopped at a red signal in Henry's Forest. Poor Percy was shivering as he waited for the signal to change.
"Oh, I wish I was back in my nice warm shed,"
he complained. Snow fell softly. Everything in the forest was covered in a blanket of white. After a while, the ambience was broken by what seemed to be the soft sound of an engine's puffing.
"Huh? Who's there?"
puffing got closer and louder, and the lack of an answer from the owner of that puffing made Percy uneasy. He was about to call out again when something rolled up beside him. It was a tank engine that was white all over, had a tall funnel, a short dome, and 6 small wheels. But what Percy noticed the most were a pair of bright red eyes which stood out from his entire body, which to the saddle tank looked like the engine was cloaked in the snowy forest. Percy felt the water in his tanks go cold as his surroundings as the engine looked towards Percy.
Hello? Who are you?
The engine didn't respond. He just looked at Percy with a solemn expression. Percy then noticed something else. A small tear came from one of the engine's eyes, only it was an ice droplet. The frozen tear went down the engine's face before hitting its buffer beam with a tap. The tense silence was broken when the engine let off steam with a Percy was so frozen in place he might as well have become Jack Frost again. His crew were just as frightened, not just by the engine's chilling appearance, but also because neither could see a crew in the engine's cab. Finally, the engine quietly steamed away and disappeared into the forest. Percy was so scared that as soon as his signal changed to green, he steamed straight out of the forest as fast as he could. Soon, Percy was back at the sheds. He was tired and traumatized by his encounter, which the other engines noticed.
What's wrong, Percy?
Asked Thomas.
You look like you've seen a ghost.
Percy took a moment to find his words before he spoke.
I may as well have. I saw a mysterious white tank engine while in Henry's forest.
Oh, come on, little Percy. You've seen Stanley before, and he's certainly not scary.
It wasn't Stanley.
Percy snapped.
This engine was completely white all over. Not just his boiler and cab, but his buffer beam, footplate, frames, everything!
The engines were left in a stunned silence by Percy's description of the engine. Finally, Henry spoke up.
So, Winter is still here?
He said solemnly.
Winter? That's his name?
That's what we call him.
And this is the story Henry told.
Around the time I came to Sodor, there were many other engines that would come and go. Among them was a small engine on loan from the other railway. He was kind, helpful, and a very friendly sort, but many didn't find his appearance at all too nice. He had no real paint job, just a white undercoat. His irises were as red as James's paintwork, and he had no name or number. We all took to calling him Winter because when that season would come, he would blend into the snow. Only his eyes would stand out. The passengers didn't take a liking to poor Winter because of this, so he was only ever used for shunting. One day, we received news that Winter's old railway would file for Chapter 11 bankruptcy and were withdrawing their engines. The Fat Director felt bad for Winter, but he had no money to buy him. Winter was so distressed that he steamed away from the station, tears streaming down his face as he did so. That was the last time any of us ever saw him. Time went by, more engines came and stayed, and Winter was soon forgotten. However, he never truly left us. One night,
I was passing by my forest with the flying kipper when rolling up beside me was Winter, who looked in terrible shape, and he had no crew. The only recognition I had of him were those scarlet red eyes. Looking at him, I also noticed a new thing. The tears he cried would turn into ice droplets the moment they left his eyes. I don't know what exactly may have happened to him, but it seems he's still with us after so many years, forever roaming the forest as a lost, sad soul.
All the engines were silent and were uneasy as they went to sleep. The next night, Duck was on his way with a delivery of fish vans for the Flying Kipper in the morning when he stopped by a signal, the same one Percy had stopped at the night before. He could hear the soft puffing and looked around to see where it was coming from, and then rolling up next to him it was Winter. Duck was petrified. Winter's scarlet red eyes looked in Duck's direction, while his frozen tears shone in the moonlight. Eventually, the engine rolled away with a whoosh, disappearing into the snowy forest. Duck didn't know what to think, even after Henry told him about the snowy specter. It wasn't long until all the engines heard of the spooky spirit of the forest. Some would hear the puffing while going into the forest, or would meet the engine face to face while at that signal. Many were unsettled by his appearance. But one night, after Percy's encounter, it all changed. It was late at night, and Gordon was getting ready to take a night express, but he was feeling an odd pain.
This isn't good, but I must pull through. My passengers are counting on me!
This express was particularly important. The Fat Controller was on board, along with many important people. Guard blew his whistle, and Gordon started off, making his way out of the station. Gordon made it down the main line without much trouble, eventually reaching Henry's Forest, the final stretch before the workstation. But right as he entered the forest, he hissed as he slowed to a stop in the middle of the forest. The crew inspected the damage.
Looks like you burst your safety valve again, Gordon,
the driver said.
We shall have to get help.
Oh, just what I needed. The absolute indignity of it all. If bursting my safety valve while pulling an important train wasn't bad enough, I just so happened to stop at the very same place everyone says they've seen a...
But before Gordon could continue, he felt a soft bump from behind, followed by a whistle the big engine didn't recognize. A sign that his mysterious rescuer was ready.
Who is that?
By that point, everyone on the train wanted to get going again, so Gordon's crew decided to go ahead and let this mystery engine try. Gordon whistled back to say he was ready as well, and the train continued on. When they reached the workstation, the passengers cheered in delight.
In fact, I believe that honor should belong to that engine who brought us the rest of the way here.
But when everyone looked to the rear coach, no one was there. Gordon then saw Edward come in with a train of coal for the station.
Sorry I'm late. The snow is making it hard to get through.
I say, Edward, did you happen to see an engine leaving the station on your way here?
Oh, well, I'm sorry, Gordon, but no engines passed by me on the way here.
Gordon was speechless, and so was the Fat Controller.
No, that can't be right. Someone was clearly pushing me from Henry's Forest all the way up here.
The guard then walked up, just as perplexed as everyone else.
There was indeed an engine behind us, a white tank engine with red irises. I turned around for 1 second when we pulled in, and when I looked back, it was gone.
No one said a word. Edward shunted Gordon into the works before taking his train on. Once he brought the passengers to Vickerstown, they left on a train for the other railway. After that, Edward told the Fat Controller about Winter. They reached Henry's Forest and stopped at the signal Winter had been seen at many nights before. And before long, that white tank engine appeared from out of the gently falling snow.
So, you're Winter. I am truly sorry about how you were treated back then, and what became of you. And I do wish that my great-grandfather before me could have saved you. You might have given my engines quite the fright, but I know you aren't a harmful spirit, as you've proved when you helped Gordon earlier tonight. You've shown to us that even though you've shed your mortal coil, you are still a really useful engine.
Winter said nothing, but he gave a gentle smile. A couple of tears streamed down his face, but they were happy tears that didn't turn into ice droplets. The snowy spirit puffed back, disappearing into the snow once more. Once he was gone, Edward and the Fat Controller set off for Wellsworth. No one saw Winter again after that night, but even if he were to appear again, no one would be frightened of him, as they all know he isn't a malevolent spirit, especially Gordon. Now, whenever he passes through Henry's Forest during a snowy day or night, he passes by in a respectful silence for Winter, the snowy spirit.
Well, that was a tame story. Spooky, but tame.
Not as scary as I would have liked.
It was still spooky, at least. Imagine seeing an all-white engine with red eyes. That'd freak anyone out if they didn't stick around long enough to notice how sad he is.
I'm glad you all enjoyed my story. Next year I'll have a scarier story to tell.
Yeah, well, I certainly enjoyed my first story time here.
And we've enjoyed having you here. Think you'll come back again?
You know what? I think I will. It's fun hanging around with other spirits who enjoy spooky stories.
Indeed, it's why we meet up in the first place. And as such, the story time is over.
Until next time.